Hi, this is DrumWise Meets. Today, I'm here with Mike Ciprari. Mike runs SJC Drums over in Massachusetts. So, Mike, my first question for you is, what age did you get into drums? What bands inspired you? And actually, what was your first kit?
I was 9 years old when I first started being obsessed with drums. I remember hearing, all the punk rock bands in the early 90s, Green Day and Rancid, and all the other like hard rock bands like Limp Bizkit and Korn, and just really, really got into music. When I heard 311's Blue album that I really, knew I wanted to be a drummer. Hearing Chad Sexton drum was incredible. And just the sounds he got out of his drums, especially his snare drum, were always so cool. Then I saw that movie, That Thing You Do, with Tom Hanks, and that kind of introduced me to the world of touring. And I just knew that I wanted to play the drums, and I kind of became infatuated with being in a band and going on tour. And I got a drum set that year for Christmas when I was 9. My mom and dad got me this red gloss. It was like a percussion plus drum kit. Super cool. And so it's been a long journey, but I was 9 years old when I started.
Awesome. I think this is quite a hard one, but if you had to pick just one, could you pick your all-time favorite drummer?
Oh yeah, for sure. All-time favorite drummer is Chad Sexton. He was just like the first drummer that I was drawn to again when I was 9. Like, I listened to all those bands and all that music, but it was when I heard Chad that I knew I wanted to be a drummer. So Chad Sexton, hands down.
Cool. Can you briefly tell us the story of SJC? I mean, just just sum up kind of how it began and like how the journey's kind of progressed so far.
Yeah, so the journey of SJC, as I look back, is it was just a hobby. We were kids. Like I said, I got my first drum kit when I was 9, and my older brother played a bunch of different instruments like the saxophone, and just really liked reading music and getting, being musically talented, where I was just like, I just want to be a punk rock drummer. So I got my kit when I was 9, and my brother wanted to play my drums, and he eventually found an old drum kit in our cousin's attic. It was like her version of like my percussion plus kit, just like an entry level basic kit. And my brother grabbed it, tore it apart, took it in our backyard, spray painted it, rewrapped it, and it looked sick. Like, I was jealous. I was like, dude, you got a rad drum kit. And he just became infatuated with learning more about drums and what bearing edges did and what different shells did. And so he took a small corner of our grandma's basement, who lived next door, and started refurbishing drums and building them from scratch. And like I said earlier, I was really into the creative side of music and the culture behind it, and like creative things with like skateboard culture and whatnot. So it was kind of a perfect storm of him being a nerd, if you will, on like building things, and I was a nerd on like making things cool and hip, I guess. And so we were both in punk rock bands throughout like high school. Like, he was in a ska band and I was in a punk band, and we were like putting on shows at local venues and small little halls and stuff like that. So we had this grassroots culture of going to Kinko's and printing up little sheets of paper and ripping them in half and flying our own shows at high school to get our friends to come out. So we always had this like do-it-yourself attitude. And eventually, as we were playing in bands, we both had an SJC kit that he built. Friends started asking for them, and eventually, like, people from other states started calling us and wanting drum sets. And I was like, this is crazy. And in like 2003 or 2004 was like our first, I guess, like launch of like feeling like we're going to be a company. We made drums for the band Panic at the Disco, and they played on MTV with our drums. And like my phone overnight just like melted, basically, because all these people are hitting us up to get drums. And that was really the start of us going like, yo, we should probably try to, I don't know, see if we can do something with this, not create a company, but like just make drums for fun. And here we are 20 years later, that hobby became an obsession.
Awesome. And yeah, and what incredible drums they are.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it.
So if you could, just for people that are interested in drum construction and things like that, can you talk us through maybe like the design process for a new, let's say you have an idea for a new kit or something. How does it come around from being on paper to actually being a finished product?
Yeah, and that's the fun and stressful and sometimes frustrating part of that journey, depending on the complexity of the kit. You know, we've made some wild stuff for some of our artists, like Danny from We the Kings got a DeLorean drum set from Back to the Future. So I'm sure you can imagine seeing a picture of a DeLorean and trying to convert that into a playable drum set that's going to last and sound good is quite difficult. And, you know, we don't do that all the time. The majority of the drums we build are much less complex. But yeah, it starts with the customer, you know, like what the drummer wants, what they want it to sound like, and what they want it to look like, obviously. And so they give us their idea. Sometimes it's a full-fledged mock-up with all the art delivered and just they're 100% ready to go. They know everything that they want and they provided it all. But most of the time the drummer is just like, hey, you know, I like this color, or I like this texture, or here's a picture of a drum set that I like. I want you to help me make it me. And so then we'll go and, you know, we have an incredible team from our graphic designer to the guys building the drums. Like everybody is very visual and super creative, where we can think way outside the box. And so we take those ideas and we put them on paper, or we throw into Photoshop, or then we go out and look on like Pinterest or whatever to find inspirational photos to then create kind of like a mood board for the customer. From there, you know, it's up to the guys building to take that mock-up and create a drum. And it's a lengthy process sometimes. You know, for the most part, the series drums that we build are pretty cut and dry. They're you know, repetitive processes, if you will. But a lot of the custom stuff we build is a lot of going back and forth with the customer saying, hey, you know, is this the exact color you wanted? Or we have this idea. As we were putting the reinforcement rings in the hoops, we thought, wow, wouldn't this look cool? Wouldn't this sound great? So it's a really collaborative process. And that's part of the reason that we have a turnaround time to allow for, you know, finding the right materials and getting everything in-house, and then creating everything and crafting up the customer's dream. It really depends, again, on the complexity and what they want. But it's a really fun process where you're literally watching these inanimate objects, wood and metal and drum heads, you know, really come to life, and then shipping it to the customer and having them unbox it and show us that they're like blown away it's very gratifying for sure.
Yeah. What qualities do you think drummers are looking for when they're looking to purchase a new kit? So when someone walks into a shop like Sound Attack, and they're like, right, I'm going to buy a new kit. And then, you know, so they're looking across all the range of all the different brands. How do you kind of make your brand stand out? But also, yeah, what's that person want from the product?
Yeah. That's a great question, man. And we look at that and think about that all the time, every day. And whenever we do stuff like this, developing new product or marketing, I'm always putting myself in 12-year-old Mike's shoes. I'm always like, what would 12-year-old Mike, as an impressionable wannabe drummer that wants to make it so bad and be a drummer as his career, what would 12-year-old Mike want to see and feel? And so I feel like a lot of drummers, obviously, I think without a doubt, look for quality. They want not a deal per se. They want to get the most value for their money. They're spending a lot of their hard-earned money, and it's an investment. And so buying a new drum set is an experience, and it's a process that you're going to do a ton of research online. You're going to listen to videos. You're going to go on forums. You're going to go on that company's website and social medias. You're going to get a feel, and you should get a feel for the whole environment and that experience that they're going to offer, on top of just the product that you're going to get and take home and hopefully love forever and pass down to your kids or the next generation or whatever. And so, yeah, you know, a value, craft, you want to make sure that the drums are of the utmost quality and you're getting the best bang for your buck, no pun intended. For me, personally, inside SJC and as a consumer, I always look for the after purchase. what is my relationship with this company going to look like after I spend that investment? If something goes wrong, because it probably will, especially with drums when you're hitting them and probably touring and bringing them into different temperature, different climates and whatnot. It's like a car. It's, it's an investment where you're like, I want to make sure that the dealer that I'm buying this car from, or the drums in this case, is going to take care of me, and that the store, or if I'm going direct, they're not just going to ghost me if I need something, or if I want to chat, or if I want to feel that connection. And so I feel like that's what sets SJC apart so much, is that experience before, during, and after, especially after, that makes the world of difference. Where we're a big community, we've got all the typical stuff, backline for our artists around the world. We promote all of our drummers, but we're really there for them no matter what. And so, a lot of companies out there, not just drum companies, a lot of businesses are like, I got your money, now go away. You're just a customer. You're a number to me. I got your money. If you want anything else, you pay me for it. We just do, we strive to go above and beyond after people purchase their drums, even before we collect money from anybody. We want to be their friends, and we want to be a resource that whether they go with SJC drums or not, they're going to feel like they're being taken care of. And we're very fortunate to have amazing dealers like Scott and Pete at Sound Attack, where they feel the same, and we know that they're going to deliver the same experience that we would direct. And so, maybe customers don't even know that they're looking for that. I've been at some drum stores, or even, selling SJC drums direct, where the customers thought that they only wanted the best bang for their buck and they wanted to buy the drums and go away. And they were blown away, going like, wow, I didn't expect to get this level of being catered to during that process. And again, that's what we're most proud of. Really, we've strived for that from day one, and that's really, really important to us.
Absolutely. And you guys, back in, must have been 2013 when I toured Japan, you guys helped me out with gear there.
That's important, man. Like when you're going overseas, and obviously those kits are used, we hope to have backline companies that'll take care of that gear. But when you're going overseas, man, like you probably are on a budget. Your band is probably on a pretty tight budget where you're not going to spend a ton of money to rent gear. You don't really want to rent the gear or share a drum kit with the local banks. You don't know what you're going to get. That meme on Facebook where it's like the local venue says they got a drum kit, and it's like that crazy setup with like a duct tape pedal. You don't want that. And so we want to provide backline for everybody, whether you're in Green Day or not. We want a quality kit for our drummers to keep representing our brand and to feel comfortable.
And actually, seeing as you mentioned Green Day there, so I don't think we can talk here without mentioning Green Day. So talk to me about what it was like getting Trey on board, because obviously you said early on, you said one of your influences were Green Day. And
yeah,
for me as well, I mean, I think we're a similar age. When I was growing up, I was listening to the early Green Day stuff, but especially Dookie. I mean, you can't see, but over behind me there, I've got an SJC drum head with Trey's signature and the sticks and the Dookie.
Red.
And, so that must have been an amazing thing for you to get him on board.
Yeah, dude, I pinch myself every day, about many things, but that one specifically, where it's just like, oh my God, man, like Trey Cool from Green Day plays our drums, and like, he's my bud. And like, I talk to him and I've learned so much about him. I've learned so much from him about the music industry and drums and what he loves. I mean, dude, Dookie is one of the most iconic records ever. And like his drumming, the drum tones, how he set his kit up, he's just an iconic human being. And like, he plays our drums, and I'm just so proud. I was 15 years old or so, maybe 16, at a show in Connecticut, watching Green Day, and just looking up at Trey playing, and like every kid that looks up at Trey when he's playing the drums, or even not, you're just like, man, I want to meet that guy. Like, he seems so cool. And I always knew, like, I always thought, how cool would it be to make drums for Green Day? But I never even tried, because I just knew that, until I did try, what was it, 6 years ago? I never tried for the first like decade of SJC, because I knew that I might not be able to handle it. Like, I wouldn't be able to hang with Trey in the Green Day camp. And I wanted to provide the best service that I could for him. And I thought it was the right time, and the stars kind of aligned. And I just so happened to be in Oakland, California with Rancid. And I was like, this is a great opportunity to try and introduce SJC to Trey. And it was like a 2-year process. And a couple years into it, I went and I was on his boat in Newport Beach, and like we were just cruising around, like went and got dinner together with Mike Fasano, who was his drum tech in the studio. And we just became friends, man. And like our wives became friends. And I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland with him when Green Day got inducted, and just so many really cool stories that it goes so much beyond just crafting him drums. Like we've done some really cool things together, and I've witnessed some things that I never thought I would be that close to him in Green Day. And like, I'm still a super fan. I tell him that. Like, I remember we were out at a Mexican place a few years ago, and like I had probably one too many margaritas, and I was just like, dude, you play drums on Dookie, man. Like, it's my favorite record, bro. And like, I got like emotional about it, where I'm just like, bro, like I freaking love you, man. Like, you're my hero. Like, legitimately, you are my hero. And really cool, dude. So like, I'm so proud of that. And yeah, dude, it's Trey cool, man.
What are your hobbies away from drums?
Oh man, I'm really bad at that. And like, I've worked pretty hard the past couple years to like allow myself to detach from drums, because it's an obsession. Like I said a few times now, like it's not really the healthiest obsession. Like for real, like I have pretty bad anxiety, and like I'm really OCD. Like I'm like a micromanager to like, I'm the worst micromanager ever, because it's just in my blood. It's in my nature from day one. 20 years ago, starting SJC with my brother, like we were involved with literally everything from the ground up. And if we didn't do it, no one else was there to pick up the slack, and no one else was there to do it. So it just wouldn't get done. And we were just into it, man. Like we were like, there's no other thing we're going to do. Like I knew, a few years into it, I left my band, and like, we just went all in. And so there was no giving up. And so, I didn't have a girlfriend. I lived with my parents for a long time. And then I eventually got an apartment literally down the street so I could walk to the shop, with a couple friends that worked at the shop. And we were just in a house with like, there was like 6 of us eventually. And, sorry, this is a really long story to your answer. I'm kind of just trying to show why I'm a little crazy. But I just didn't have any other hobbies. It was music, it was going to shows, it was hanging out with our drummers, and it was trying to grow SJC. And so, I got married about 6 years ago now, and that was tough for my wife, and I'm just like working all the time. Typical, you're married to an entrepreneur. Like, I'm just like, yo, I can't do anything. We're not even gonna go out to eat. Like, we're just going to stay home because I'm just going to work all the time. I was on my phone, on my computer, like literally all the time. So I knew then that I was like, I got to do things like outside of SJC. And so a few years ago, my wife and I had a baby, and my son's 3 now. And so he's kind of become like helping me get a hobby. Like I ride a bike now with him. Like when he wants to go ride his little, Power Wheels outside, normally I would just be on my phone checking my email. But now I'm like, I'm just going to ride my bike. Or I got into nature. Like we go for hikes. And like a few years ago, I started reading a lot of books. I like to read a lot of fiction books. I'll go to the library and just go in the fiction category or section, and I'll just literally grab a book and I'll just read it. I love it. Like I love doing that sort of stuff. My wife got me like a stationary bike for my birthday this year. So every night, I stopped listening to music. Whenever I'm working, I listen to music, but I stopped listening to music for like the fun of it. And so I ride that bike for an hour a night, and I just let my Spotify just go. And that's become a big hobby. So, yeah, those are my hobbies now. The past few years, I got into that sort of stuff, but man, pre being 30 years old, like I literally didn't have a single hobby other than drums.
What's your favorite cookie?
Oh, dude. That's a great question, man. Dang. Dude, I love all cookies, man. I love sweets so much. My wife makes these incredible, like, she mixes like oatmeal and like peanut butter and chocolate, and just makes these little just balls, cookies. Like, I don't even know how she does it, but that anything with like oatmeal in it, especially if it's vegan, any vegan cookie, is insane. It's only 10:30 here in Massachusetts, and I'm going to go have a cookie after this. Cause, now you got me thinking about that. What's your favorite cookie, man?
Oh no, don't ask me that. Oh, I don't know. No one's asked me that. No one's asked me that. I don't know. I like a hobnob.
A hobnob. Yeah, dude, those are good. I haven't had a hobnob in a bit, man. Those are good. Yeah. You guys are lucky over there in England, man. You have some really good like desserts and sweets for sure.
That's why I thought I had to call it a cookie, because a biscuit is a whole different thing for you guys, isn't it?
For sure. Yeah. A biscuit to me is like a Southern thing. Like my wife, again, she's from the South. And so like biscuits are a Southern thing to me for sure.
If you could give one bit of advice to up and coming drummers, or to people that want to start their own company, I suppose no matter what it is, it doesn't matter if it's to do with drums, you know, someone that wants to make a success of something that they love, what would your advice be?
Wow. So as you can tell, I'm known now for long-winded answers. I hope this one's not long-winded, but that's a great question. And literally for anybody and everybody wanting to do something, drums, music, be an entrepreneur, work for a business, whatever. It's find your passion and don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it. Find a way to make it happen. You know, there are many ways to achieve your goal, and there's no such thing as an overnight success story. The overnight successes that I've witnessed usually crash and burn. They evaporate pretty quickly. You need to learn the ropes. You need to make mistakes. You got to fail, you know, learn from those failures and get back up and wipe the dust off and go again. No one else can do that for you. There's no shortcut. All the cheesy cliche things that you hear on motivational speakers or see on motivational speakers, Instagram memes or whatever. It's all true. You know, you really, you just got to follow your passion, and it may divert course every now and then. But just have patience and keep that passion alive. Find ways to nurture that passion. Like we talked about, your great question of what my other hobbies are. You know, those hobbies do feed back into my obsession with drums. You know, a lot of the other things that I'm doing allow me to feel more refreshed. So maybe once a year you spot check yourself and kind of like reconnect with why you're doing what you're doing, because it's easy to get burnt out, especially in this music industry. You know, I've gone through it a few times now. And, you know, it's important, I think, to spot check yourself. And I think having a plan, you know, a 5-year plan, and, you know, revising it every 6 months to a year, just so you're spot checking yourself and seeing where you're at and updating it and changing it as you go. Yeah, those are all things that I've learned over the years, and it's easier said than done. You just kind of have to go through it. It's like, it's kind of like getting broken up with. When you get broken up with, you're like, this is the worst thing ever. My life is never going to be okay again. And this sucks. That's what it feels like to fail, you know, when you're so passionate about something. When something doesn't go right, you know, it's really difficult to bounce back from that. And it's even harder with social media right now, where you see the best of everybody. You see everybody's successes online, but you don't see the 1,000 failures that it took them to get to that point. And so you're constantly kind of comparing yourself to those people and what they're doing. And that makes it even more difficult. But yeah, just being true to yourself and not selling yourself short. And again, there's no such thing as an overnight success story. I mean, look at the Beatles, how many shows that they played until they played on the Ed Sullivan Show, or everyone saw that and thought that they blew up overnight. Or more relevant today, 21 Pilots, where they are one of the biggest bands, you know, kind of ever. You know, just what they've done and the statistics that they've created for themselves is insane. But they toured in a van and trailer for years in Columbus, Ohio area, and then New England, and then, you know, they were doing that for so long. And SJC, you know, we were in my grandma's basement for 7 years. I was making no money, you know, as a mid-20-year-old living, you know, in your parents' house still. That's hard to do. So don't be too proud to do that sort of stuff. Don't be too proud to ask for help. Network and collaborate and build your connections. Yeah, those are all things that, even had I known them when I was 20 years old, 15 years old, I don't think it would have made a difference. I think you learn these things as you go through them. So honestly, I guess my advice, and I'm going to rip this from Dave Grohl because I love it, and I forget how he said it exactly. I'm definitely going to butcher it, but he said something to the effect of, just get in your garage and suck. Go jam with your friends and just suck. Just do that. You have to just go and suck for a while so that you figure out who you are and what you're about and what you're good at and what you want to be good at. And, you know, we sucked for a while. SJC, I had no idea what I was doing. My brother was figuring out how to build drums, and we fought all the time. And, you know, it took us many years to figure out what we're good at and what our lanes are. And that's really cool and exciting. But if you told me when I was like 23 years old that you're going to just do these things and you're going to do spreadsheets and this stuff, I go, screw that. You know, I don't want to do that. So just go and suck. That's it, man.
So Mike, thank you so much for spending your time with us here at DrumWise. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Dude, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you having me. I appreciate what you do. Thanks for your support of SJC and what you're doing for the drum community. And thanks again for having me.